In American football, players hardly ever use their actual feet. They mostly throw and carry the ball like a hot potato. An actual kick only happens a few times each game. Meanwhile, most of the rest of the world is playing real football where using your hands is a foul. So why do Americans call their version football if it's such nonsense? Well, it turns out it's a total mix-up from history. If we were being honest, we'd call it something like handball in armor, because calling it football is way off. To make matters worse, the real football played across the world, the one where players actually use their feet to play with a ball, is just soccer in the US? It's a weird name slapped on like a cheap label, an afterthought. So what's the history behind this strange situation? Let's unpack both sides of this identity crisis. On one side, international fans who think the NFL is a misnamed gladiator sport. On the other, Americans who argue that football is more than just kicking, it's the spirit of their Sundays. You might wonder which league team is going to win the next championship, but this is the real football feud. Ever wonder how the word football ended up meaning two totally different things? Back in the day, football was just any game played on foot, not on a horse. That included soccer and rugby. But as the games changed, so did the names, except in the US, where things took a wild turn. Around the early 1900s, Americans were playing a rough, rowdy game that grew out of rugby. Yeah, there was still some kicking, but it quickly became all about passing, tackling, and blocking. Totally different vibe. Still, they stuck with the name football. Maybe it was tradition, maybe it just sounded cool, or maybe nobody wanted to call it something silly like carry ball. Language changes with people, and games do too. Funny enough, soccer used to be the more popular game in the US, but when colleges leaned into the rugby-style version, the tide turned. That twist kicked off decades of people scratching their heads over what football actually means. As the NFL grew into a money-making machine, the name football became locked in. TV, radio, newspapers, they all backed it up. Football was the name, and that was that. Then came the Super Bowl, and boom. It was like the name got carved in stone. Schools started teaching kids that football was the all-American sport. By the 1950s, it wasn't just a game anymore, it was part of the country's identity. TV deals, jerseys, and commercials made the name even harder to shake. And let's be real, ads made football feel like the ultimate symbol of toughness, teamwork, and good old American pride. Let's be real. In most NFL games, there are maybe a dozen kicks, a few punts, some field goals, and a kickoff or two. The rest? It's all about the hands. Quarterbacks throwing darts, running backs gripping the ball tight, and receivers flying through the air hands first. Feet barely show up to the party. Now picture this, a game where nearly every move is made with hands, but it's still called football. That's odd, right? And the ball? Not even round. It's an oval that doesn't roll. It wobbles, like a confused kangaroo. When people in the US say football, they think of touchdowns, helmets, and halftime shows. Not fancy footwork like Messi or Mbappe. So how did the name stick? Probably just branding. It caught on, and no one changed it. Think about it. NFL kickers only show up now and then. They're specialists, not stars. Referees rarely even say the word foot during games. Most fans can name every quarterback before they name a single kicker. In soccer, everyone kicks. In football, it's like a side quest. Plays are designed for throwing and running, not kicking. Kicking gains barely register compared to passing yards. Special teams, just a sliver of the playbook. Stats focus on throws, catches, and tackles. Even the lingo is hand-heavy. Handoffs, handling pressure, catching. To Americans, football means more than footwork. It's the crunch of a big hit, the roar of a crowd, tailgates, and epic Sundays. It's woven into the seasons. Fall means football. So does Thanksgiving and Friday nights. Changing the name? That's like asking folks to rename their childhood. For many, comparing it to soccer is laughable. Soccer looks slower, has fewer points, and those dramatic dives? They see NFL football as fast, hard-hitting, and smart. Like chess with helmets. It's not just a sport, it's part of the culture. Fantasy leagues and betting make every game personal. TV networks plan entire days around it. Monday Night Football isn't just a show, it's a tradition. You see jerseys everywhere. It's like a second uniform. Football brings people together. Neighbors, cities, even rivals. Whether or not the name fits, the love is real. The draft, that's a primetime event. In small towns, high school football rules the night. College teams rake in billions. Even local businesses ride the wave of a team's success. And Super Bowl ads? They're talked about for weeks. To be fair, Americans didn't just pull the name out of nowhere. There is kicking. And when it happens, it can decide everything. Field goals can be game winners. Punters and kickers, they train like snipers. Special teams may not be the stars, but they matter. And once in a while, an onside kick flips a whole game. Plus, American football came from older versions that did involve kicking. So maybe the name stuck because of its past. Still, just because it's old doesn't mean it makes sense today. Kick returns have made careers. Some of the most dramatic moments in NFL history came from a single kick. Kickers hold some of the league's oldest records. Even if they show up rarely, their moments are unforgettable. Game-winning kicks? Pure magic. Step outside of America, and the linguistic conflict becomes a full-blown culture clash. To billions, football means Pele, Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, Messi. The beautiful game. A global religion. Kids on dirt pitches with dreams in their eyes? And to those billions, calling the NFL football is like calling chess combat sports. Even countries like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand use soccer conversationally, but still default to football in international contexts. Only in the US does this divide become a linguistic wall. The term soccer was actually invented in England, short for association football. Ironically, it was British students who first coined the term that Americans kept. The US simply clung to the nickname longer than the Brits did. In Europe, football transcends sport. It's a pillar of identity. National teams are political symbols and sources of pride. To rename that as soccer feels like cultural vandalism to some.
I have an issue with the use of the word soccer.
They call it American football. I don't get it. They kick it one time every 15 days.
World Cup viewership dwarfs even the Super Bowl. Football clubs are institutions that predate some countries. FIFA governs billions of dollars in global competition. Youth academies in Europe and South America scout kids as young as 6. Fans riot, weep, and celebrate over what Americans call soccer. So, who's right? Is American football wrongly named? Absolutely, the logic doesn't hold. But is it just a name? Maybe. After all, language is fluid. Meaning is shaped by culture. To the rest of the world, a football is what it sounds like. Feet and a ball. To America, it's touchdowns, rivalries, and rituals. So what do you think? Should America give up the name football? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe for more debates that challenge what we take for granted.